This PowerPoint is about secants, tangents, and angle measures. A couple definitions you may need to know. A secant is a line that intersects a circle at exactly 2 points, and a tangent is a line that intersects a circle at only 1 point.
Theorem 1 says if two secants intersect in the interior of a circle, then the measure of the angle formed is 1/2 the sum of the measures of the arcs intercepted by the angle and its vertical angle. This means the measure of angle 1 is equal to 1/2 the sum of the measure of arc BD and the measure of arc CE. Here's an example of Theorem 1. We have our formula, so we need to plug in the values for the measure of arc BD and the measure of arc CE. We know those to be 100 degrees and 60 degrees. So we know the measure of angle A is equal to 1/2 160 degrees. This means the measure of angle 1 is equal to 80 degrees.
Theorem 2. If a secant and a tangent intersect at a point of tangency, then the measure of each angle formed is half the measure of its intercepted arc. This means that the measure of angle ABC is equal to 1/2 the measure of arc ADB. Here's an example of Theorem 2. We have our formula. Measure of angle ABC is equal to 1/2 the arc ADB. We have to find the measure of arc ADB. We can do this by subtracting arc AB from 360 degrees. We know the measure of arc AB to be 120 degrees, so we plug that in. So the measure of arc ADB is equal to 240 degrees. We can now plug this into our other formula. The measure of angle ABC is equal to 1/2 times 240. So the measure of angle ABC is equal to 120 degrees.
Theorem 3 says if two secants, a secant and a tangent, or two tangents intersect in the exterior of a circle, then the measure of the angle formed is 1/2 the positive difference of the measures of the intercepted arcs. This means that the measure of angle A is equal to 1/2 the measure of arc DE minus the measure of arc BC. The same thing applies for two tangents. You take the larger arc minus the smaller. So the measure of angle A is equal to 1/2 the measure of arc BDC minus the measure of arc BC.
And here's our example for Theorem 3. We have our formula. The measure of angle A is equal to 1/2 the measure of arc BDC minus the measure of arc BC. We know these values to be 249 degrees and 111 degrees, so we plug these into the formula. The measure of angle A is then equal to 1/2 times 138 degrees, which would mean that the measure of angle A is equal to 69 degrees.